My name is Allison Friday and I'm a volunteer for Steel Bones. When I became an amputee in 2020, there were no local support groups in the Teesside area, which is where I live. But my husband spent a lot of time on the internet looking for help and support, and he came across Steel Bones. Steel Bones just gave us a huge amount of support, both to David and the rest of the family, while we tried to navigate this huge life-changing event, which was compounded by happening at the same time as COVID and the lockdown. So when I became better, I guess you could say, I decided that I wanted to volunteer for Steel Bones to try and pay back some of that kindness and support that they'd given us, and hopefully to help somebody else who found themselves in that same unfortunate position that I had. So I volunteer as a family mentor. I attend events like the Celebration Day, and on this occasion my husband David and I represented Steel Bones at the regional conference for the British Association of Prosthetists and Orthotists. This is the first time that Steel Bones had attended the BAPO conference, and interestingly, the Limbless Association also attended that event for the first time, and it was really to raise awareness of the charities that are out there and the level of support that they can give to amputees. It wasn't an onerous task at all to do this. We were, both the Limbless Association and ourselves were right at the front of the conference, literally where the registrants came through from the welcome desk, and very luckily in front of all the teas, coffees, biscuits and lunch, etc. that was provided during the day. It was a case of just manning the table and explaining to anybody who expressed an interest about what Steel Bones was doing in the field of peer support and benefits help, etc., and what a difference that can make to amputees based on my own experience. There were, unfortunately, not that many people who really came to the table to talk to us, and I think Limbless Association found the same thing. On a positive note, I would like to say that I think that's because the meeting was 6 hours. It was a full day of sessions on a whole range of topics, from clinical practice, education, research and development, leadership and management. So that linked with a quite extensive trade fair of the suppliers that they would normally work with. And also the opportunity to network with either people that they trained with or worked with before, or researchers who they wanted to get involved with. It probably didn't leave an awful lot of time to be thinking about the charity aspect of it when they were prioritising their time. If I want to think about the negative side, I could say that maybe they just don't really think very much about peer support and the effect that it has on amputees and the benefits that it can have for amputees. But again, this was an opportunity to raise awareness, and we did talk to a few people about that. I'm a bit of a research geek, so I actually attended some of the sessions, and there were two that particularly stood out to me. One was about prosthetic gait, which is the science of how your body moves when you're walking with a prosthetic. And I think that has real benefits in helping in getting people to walk in the correct anatomical way, so that they're not putting undue stress on either their contralateral leg, which may start out as being healthy, but also if you're bilateral on your hips and your back, And I think that would have benefits for the NHS in that if we were taught to walk properly, then we wouldn't put quite so much strain on these other parts of the body, which means we could potentially reduce the number of knee replacements, hip replacements, or heaven forbid, more amputations and more people becoming a bilateral. There was another session that I attended, which was called From Niche to Influence, Empowering Prosthetists and Orthotists. The prosthetic and orthotics group is the smallest group of the allied professionals, and so quite often they feel that they don't have much of a voice when it comes to advocating for themselves. The speaker was very good, and she talked about a hidden ceiling, which was about people not valuing themselves enough, not promoting what they do well enough, for the sake of perhaps coming over as being a braggart. But actually in doing that, in letting people know what you're doing as a group, in this case for prosthetists and orthotists, it actually gives you a power, and it helps you become more involved in the decisions that get made that affect you. And I think that is something that people with disabilities also could do with some work on. Just because we've had an amputation doesn't mean to say that we've lost our ability to think or to reason. And quite often things are done to us rather than us being involved in the decisions that we make, either on a personal level or in society as a whole. So I think that was a really good one, because I could see the parallels between the two groups. So the people with disabilities and the smallest group of allied professionals. On a personal note, I definitely found the research parts of the conference really interesting. I really am a research geek, and I am also a girl who just can't say no. And so unfortunately, I think I may have volunteered for a few too many research projects, but hopefully the speakers won't remember that further down the line when they're actually looking for their volunteers. But if they do, that's great, because as I said, end user involvement really does help the process for development of both services and products. If I'm thinking in the way that the prosthetic services work, I think there would be two things probably that I would look at. One would be, as I say, the gait analysis, because I think that would have huge benefits for the NHS, but I think that's probably a pie in the sky wish, although there were some exhibitors there who had an app which studied your gait. You wore it with a strange boot, and it studied your gait, so maybe it's not as far away as I think it is. But the other thing is, I would like people to be more aware, even at that first site in the prosthetists clinic, of the value of peer support and the difference that it can make. And it can make a difference to a prosthetist, because I think if somebody has a bit of support and somebody motivating them to just put that leg on and keep trying and keep practicing, even on days where you really, really don't feel like it as an amputee, then that only has benefits for them too. So I think they would be the two things that I would like to see changed. Volunteering isn't for everyone, but if you have even the slightest inkling that you might be interested in doing it, I recommend that you give it a go. You don't have to be forward facing. You could do any of the back office roles in Steel Bones. They're just as vital as anybody who goes out and talks to, I don't know, at conferences or other amputees. It really does give you a sense of purpose, which perhaps if you're not able to work anymore, you may be missing in your life. If it's not for you, then it's not for you, but you have at least given it a go. Steel Bones runs on volunteers. Emma always says that. And I think the benefit for being in Steel Bones is that it gives you a community that you know will always support you and will always be there for you. And that's very reassuring. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
We are Steel Bones, a charity serving the limb difference community in the UK. Our mission is to empower amputees and their families to live life to the fullest. It is completely free to join us, and you can register at steelbone.co.uk at the big blue button register at the bottom, and you can also ring us on 03333 606 930. We hope you enjoy listening to the podcast today, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.